automate things. Obviously, this is focusing on saving time, accuracy, predictability, continuous improvement. And really what we want to be doing is creating feedback loops for any process that we do. So I work for Just Eat. I've worked there for 11 months now. And one of the reasons that we need automation at Just Eat is we have 400 microservices, and deploying all of that manually, including the networking, would just be impossible. We're also hiring over 100 new product developers this year. So there's an estimation that we'll go up to 200 more microservices, so we could have around 600 microservices. So you can see why automation is so important for a company like Just Eat to stay ahead of the competitors and hopefully deliver your food on time as well, which is good. Nice byproduct. Yeah, so at Just Eat, we have to set up deployment pipelines. And what I'm going to focus on today is really how the networking piece fits into that deployment pipeline and how important it is to automate the networking in that. So we have numerous amounts of different applications that vary between being deployed as lambdas on virtual machines, on containers as well. So really, the team that I'm part of, we have to offer a self-service model to developers so that they can set up networking with an abstraction layer, and I'll take you through that in a bit. So one of the points as well is the pipeline before would really just control code and deploy code onto static servers with static networks. So in the cloud, that's completely changed. You have to deploy networks as well, and you have to deploy load balancing. So I'll touch upon how we use Aviators as part of that deployment pipeline. So at Just Eat, we're looking at multi-cloud as well. We're AWS specifically at the moment, but we have a lot of our machine learning things for our AI robots and Google Cloud as well. So our pipeline needs to be able to deploy networks in both Google Cloud and on AWS. So we have to have an abstraction layer that allows us to do this. So this is the stats that we've got at the moment. So we have our CDN in Azure, we have our machine learning in Google Cloud, and the majority, 90% of our applications for the core platform run within AWS. And why Avi? So at the moment, we needed a cloud agnostic load balancer so that we could balance traffic across our multi-cloud environment. So rather than using the as-a-service offerings, such as application load balancers within AWS, we've looked at an agnostic solution so that we can split traffic between to workloads running across multiple clouds. So I'll take you through a demo on this. I don't want to spend too much time in the slides because I think showing demos is a lot better. At the moment, every application that's deployed in Just Eat is behind an application load balancer. That's whether it needs to be load balanced or not. It was because they had CloudFormation templates. All the networks were static as well, and we've tried to move away from that as well. And we also didn't have an IPAM solution, so network engineers would simply have a spreadsheet where they would allocate to the engineers when they needed to deploy new networks. So we had to get an IPAM solution in there as one of the first steps, because we needed to be able to programmatically assign IP addresses, because this is a very dynamic environment. So we went with an open source solution called Netbox. So I would check it out as well. It's been very, very good. And one of the things that we wanted to do for our development teams is they need to onboard new microservices all the time. They can't come to our team all the time, because our engineering team is only around 8 people that are in the pipeline team. So if we had to set up everything from scratch and manually, it just wouldn't work. So what we've done, and the guys are working on this at the moment to refine this just now in our hackathon this week, We're creating a Slack bot that will ask a series of questions for the application developer. It'll ask them what load balancer they want to use, so we offer ALB or Avi, and then they can onboard their application as they see fit by answering a series of questions. It will then go away and create the deployment pipeline with all the steps on it based on the profile of applications that they've specified. So I'll show you some of that in the demo as well. And this is really what we've done, so this is the workflow here. So with these 4 config files, the development teams can completely control the deployment of their application. So this is all Ansible based, and you heard people advocating for Ansible earlier on. I can't recommend it more really. So we have our inventory file, our load balancing file, which has our Avi network config in this use case. Our networking file will specify the different security groups and ACL policies that each application requires. And then the pipeline file will say what environments that you're going to deploy that application through. And what do these look like? So within the inventory file, how many people have used Ansible here? So you're all fairly familiar with inventory files. So in the inventory file, we expose some variables. So what we've done in this model is we've allowed it where we're using Ansible modules under the hood. So what we do is we expose all the variables that the Ansible module supports so that our development teams can just go to the open source Ansible information and then put in any of the variables supported by those particular modules into here, and then it will use that module. So here we're specifying the availability zone, so we've only got one availability zone. You would normally in production put that across 2. And then you have your auto-scaling group defined. So that's using the upstream AWS auto-scaling group module as well. And then we're specified the type of image that you want to use. In this instance, we're using a Fedora 28 because we're being crazy. Cutting edge. Okay. And now to our network file. So again, this is just abstracting an abstraction layer, and the definition here is just what the upstream module supports. So you can see all the ACL rules there. You can see the CEDAR range is our 10.00/8 network, which is just each range because we're really original like everyone else. And then you have all the different ports that are open. One of the main benefits of this is security teams can now just audit that file for a particular application, and then they can see exactly what ports are open. So if the security team has an issue with the port that's been open, we just point them at the development team, and then they talk to each other. We don't get in the way, we just provide this abstraction layer. And then moving on, we have our load balancing. So in this case, we could have ALB in here, we support it as well, but we've got our Avi load balancing section. So these modules are just Ansible modules provided by Avi, and we've just had this, created this structure for it. So you can see you've got a virtual service. So that's really specifying your VIP, and then underneath it you've got your different pools. And then you've got your health monitors, so you could have multiple health monitors in here. In this instance, the team will just fill this in using the upstream module and documentation. Then after that, they specify the environment that their application is going to flow through. So in this instance, we have Avi demo. Its first environment is QE7. Its next environment will be our CD tools production environment. So that's just specified, and then what we do is we teach the teams how to use this abstraction layer so that they can self-serve it. And if we have to add features onto it, we will just add new variables and expose them to the teams. Okay, so how do we pull this together? So on this, you can see that we have an infrastructure CI build. So whenever they commit to those repos and update those files, it will create a new version of those files. That then rolls together with the other components. So as an example, you have a code repo. So we're just tagging all of those repositories within GitHub, and then this manifest file pulls them all together into a package. So when you're deploying it, you're deploying that manifest, which has all the versioning information available into it. This is Concourse, which I'll show you. It's an open source. It's described as a continuous doer of things because you can do anything with it. So it will allow you to set up different stages and scripts. So you can use Ansible playbooks at each step, or you can essentially just go through and put your own scripts in there, whether it's the Python scripts that you described before, or the shell scripts or bash scripts. Yeah. So then it pushes that manifest into Artifactory, which has all the different versions. So if we were going to roll back, you would roll back to manifest 30, and then you've got a drop-down list, so you can continually deploy these or deploy a version from way back if you want, like 2 weeks ago or a year, or based on your retention policy. This means that you're versioning absolutely everything. You're versioning your code, you're versioning your load balancing, you're versioning your networking, all in one package. So you know that the same version is deployed through each environment. And then that starts the end-to-end pipeline. So I'm going to show you this running through. We've got a demo here. So the bit at the end is the Jira integration that doesn't work when you're outside the Office network. So that's red for a reason. That's planned redness as opposed to. Okay, so we've got our manifest here for Avi. I'm just going to kick it from here, which is the start bit. So you can zoom in. This is Concourse. So in here, you've got all your different version numbers. That version number translates to a version of the manifest file within Artifactory. So if I went into Artifactory, you would see that in the drop-down. So what happens is when a new version of that manifest is pushed to Artifactory under that folder structure, Concourse will pull that, detect the new version, and kick off the pipeline. So what I'm going to do here is I'll just kick this off now. And then hopefully the magic happens. Okay, started. So this is triggering the pipeline. So the first step of this, what it will do is it will make sure that you have a clean path available within AWS to do the deployment. So this is just checking and cleaning down any specific debris that's in the way. So this is just running an Ansible playbook to delete the instances, and then it just runs through there. The second step, and I'll log into AWS so you can see this, is it will create a network. This is going to be quite difficult. Thank you. Okay, so you can see that it's locked the pipeline now, so that you can't do 2 deployments at once to the same environment, otherwise it would break. I'm going to get logged out here a bit, and there you go.
I can see much better from here. You should try.
So we've got 2-factor off to get into AWS. So there should be a little theme tune going on just now. It's like lift music. Okay, so this is all our different environments within Just Eat. So I'm going to go into QE7. So this gives me a token at the time. This will be like, at the moment what that's doing is it's creating in the Avi SaaS, which I've also been logged out of. It's good that it shows it's secure, right? So we're using Avi's SaaS solution. So what that does is they maintain the controllers for us. Okay. And then what you should see here is Just Eat demo will be up and running. Yep. So you can see that that's just been created. What's happening at the moment is it's going in to spin up a virtual a service engine within AWS Cloud. So what you do is you push your intent, which we specified in the load balancing file. That then gets pushed up to AWS. I should be okay now. Sorry, I felt really bad there if you're doing that. And then what it's doing is it's going to create those load balancers. So you can see there, it's just created the Avia load balancer, and then it can show that it's currently going to start load balancing those different applications. So one of the benefits of Avia, there's a funny noise now, is one of the benefits of Avia is it has a full analytics engine, which allows you to see who's hitting that virtual IP. So you have the full analytics on it as well. So hopefully this kicks off in a second. Dead on me. Yep. So that should kick off. I hope my agent's not died now. So I was just slowing that down so that I can show you. And then the next step, what it's going to do is it will provision new instances in AWS. So if I go into AWS now, it's creating an auto-scaling group in there on the brand new network. So if I have a look at some of the networking that we specified, we use AB subnets. So the first deployment will go into subnet A, and it will assign it a /28 network range. So if I go in here, and then it alternates between the two networks. Also, your ACL policies as well are completely isolated, so it will apply it to AB security groups so that you won't ever do an update to running in-service application. You'll always be doing it completely blue-green. So in here, you're basically specified, you can see that subnet A was there, subnet B's just been created. And then what we will do now is we'll go in and have a look at the Avi demo instances that have been spun up. So what it does here is, once you've spun up the instances, and I apologize for how ugly AWS looks. So you can see here that we have 3 new instances. So the application that we're deploying here is Console. I don't know how many of you have used Console before. Show of hands. No one? Okay, we all new today. And what it's doing now is they've spun up, they've called home to Concourse, and then it's kicked off the installation of Console. So if we go into this, you will see that this is just running an Ansible role that you could get from Ansible Galaxy or something to install Console on these boxes. At which point, afterwards, it will, after the deployment's finished, it will roll those boxes onto the load balancer in Avi. So as an example, at the moment, it has these boxes, which are 165, 170, 172. So the next time when it gets to the rolling update, it will roll those current deployment out of service and roll the new boxes into service on the load balancer. Okay, so it takes a little while for it to deploy. I think it's around 2 minutes for that. How are we doing for time? Are we all right? Yeah. Okay. Cool. So we're 1 minute 47 in. We just need some more elevator music. And you can just see the running output of this. So one of the things about, just to touch on around Concourse, is each stage of this is a container. So essentially, it's all stateless. You define everything as a YAML file, which is all those different stages that you see here. Yeah. If my back button works, I'll be very happy at the moment. I think my browser's like, yeah. So you can see now as well, we've actually put a position on the instance so that we know, and in Console, yeah, it's actually started moving now. So it's doing the rolling update now. So if I go to Avi, you should be able to see those boxes change in a second. So 165. Yeah, so you can see that they're changing over at the moment, so it's swapping them out. And then what I'm going to show you now is that they've been rolled into service. Is I can hit this. Actually, what I'm going to do is I'm going to set up the analytics in Avi to be a bit more verbose. So by default, Avi normally just logs on errors because it would retain far too many logs. But what I'm going to do is show you tracking non-significant logs. So I'm just making that quick change. And so now they've been put into service, the new boxes, and the pipeline should finish. Will finish now. So that's a successful deployment. It'll get to the clean down in a second, and then it'll unlock the pipeline so it allows the new instances to come on. So what I'm going to do now is just show you a bit around Avi Networks, where we will show you some of the analytics on this and why this is a bit of a game changer. So if we go in here, you'll see console. So this is the console application from HashiCorp. So this is a key value store. So what I'm going to do is just create a key called Avi demo, and then say blah because I'm very unoriginal. So then that's created a key. And what I'm going to do now is go back to Avi and just show you how that displays. So you have the logs, and then I'm going to show the non-significant logs. And what you can see is that request that was put through. So you can see I've navigated to the key value store. It will track everything, and then you can see that you have the put request, and the put request, and one of the cool bits here, as you can see my operating system is Windows. Well, you can't see it because there's a big line through it, but and you can see the browser that it's actually come from. One of the great things around Avi is being part of a team that looks after systems is they'll sometimes complain that the network's slow. And what this allows you to see is from the client request, the timing going through the load balancer, through Avi, to the back-end server. So when they're complaining about a slow network, they have this analytics to hand where you can actually say, no, the slowness is on the app response time from your application, and it will show long requests. So there's other things that you can do with the client analytics as well. So you can see what browsers it's come from, and this is all available. So in this instance it's Chrome, but if I use Firefox, then you can see the request analytics. So you can see the SSL scores, the response codes. One of the useful use cases that I use this for is there was someone that was pinging our DNS servers and DDoSing them. I was able just to go into Avi and see the client IP address that was coming from, find out what user was using that, go to that user's desk and tell them to stop doing what they're doing. Normally debugging that would take so long. Other things as well is it's got the health score. So you've got your health score for your application, and you also have anomaly detection as well. So you can see the fluctuations when I was doing my tests earlier on today. And then you've also got your security. So it will give you a health score for your security certificate. And also you can see the open SSL patches here as well that need to be applied. So this is very useful. So I can go to the security team and tell them that, okay, these are the outstanding patches that you need to apply. Yeah. Okay, that's pretty much the demo. One of the other things, if I've got a little bit of time, that I was telling you about is netbox. So when we do assignments of networks, we essentially, so if I go to the IPAM, so netbox just is our IPAM solution. One of the cool things about it is, you guys are network engineers, is you can actually map out a whole rack and it allows you to define the rack, the circuits, pretty much every aspect of the network. This is all free. It's from DigitalOcean, it's an open source product. And what we can do is, if we go to Avi Demo, you will see within the QE7 environment that it has mapped those AWS subnets to those assigned network ranges. So we programmatically use an Ansible module that we wrote for this. We're hoping to upstream it as well. And it just goes out and it will essentially query saying, give me back a /28 address, books it out in the IPAM solution, and programmatically that's all done behind the scenes and no more going to spreadsheets and network engineers getting frustrated. So that's an initiative we worked with the network team on as well. So I recommend that too. Okay. I think that's pretty much it. Yeah, any questions? Yeah.
And you've showed this demo pretty much with AWS. You were talking Avi is pretty much cloud agnostic or vendor agnostic in that sense. If you had multiple resources in multiple cloud platforms, would you be using exactly the same sort of model, just changing your inventory files, or what would your approach be?
Yeah, that's the beauty of, I'll just show you an example to explain it. Sorry, the Wi-Fi's not my friend today. Okay, so each of those repos, so I'll just show you Avi demo.